In a distant future, humanity was under the rule of a cruel alien empire known as the Zorath. These aliens were tall and powerful, with skin like cold metal and eyes that glowed in the dark. They treated humans like machines, forcing them to work day and night in their factories. Many humans had lost hope, believing they would never be free again. Eli, a young mechanic, lived in a small human colony called New Haven. He was skilled at fixing machines and dreamed of a better life for his people. Every day he saw the same harsh scene, tired humans laboring under the watchful eyes of the Zorath guards. Their whips cracked in the air, reminding everyone of the power the aliens held. Eli felt a fire growing inside him, a desire to fight back, but he didn't know how. One cold evening, Eli was working late in his workshop. The clang of metal and the hum of machines surrounded him. As he repaired a broken generator, he noticed something strange at the back of the shop. It was a dusty old box covered in rust. Curious, he wiped it clean and opened it. Inside, he found an ancient artifact glowing softly. It looked like a crystal with swirling colors inside. As he touched it, a rush of energy flowed through him, making his heart race. Eli realized this was no ordinary object. It was something powerful. Suddenly, the door burst open and a group of Zorath guards stormed in. Their leader, a fierce alien named Commander Vrax, shouted, "Get back to work, human! You're wasting time!" Eli's heart sank. The guards were known for their brutality, but something inside him stirred. Instead of cowering, he held the artifact tightly, feeling its energy grow stronger. "Leave me alone!" Eli shouted, surprising himself. The guards paused, taken aback by his defiance. In that moment, Eli felt a surge of strength. The artifact pulsed in his hand, and a bright light filled the room. The guards shielded their eyes, confused and scared. Eli realized he had power now, power to fight back. As the guards hesitated, Eli quickly gathered his tools and fled through a back exit. He ran through the dark alleys of New Haven, adrenaline pumping in his veins. His mind raced with thoughts of what had just happened. Could this artifact be the key to freeing his people? Eli knew he had to act fast. He made his way to a hidden spot in the colony where a few brave souls gathered to talk about rebellion. These were the Free Humans, a group of rebels who had been planning to fight the Zorath. Eli burst into the meeting, breathless and wide-eyed. "I found something!" he exclaimed, holding up the glowing artifact. "This could help us!" The others, including a fierce woman named Mira and a wise old man named Joran, looked at Eli with interest. "What do you mean?" Mira asked, her voice steady. Eli explained how he found the artifact and what had happened in the workshop. As he spoke, the group listened intently, hope igniting in their hearts. They began to discuss how they could use Eli's newfound power. The atmosphere shifted from despair to excitement. They were ready to take a stand. "We can't just wait for someone to save us," Joran said, his voice strong. "We need to fight for our freedom." With Eli leading them, the group made plans to gather more people. They needed allies to stand against the Zorath Empire. Eli felt a sense of purpose that he had never known before. Together, they would prepare to fight back and reclaim their lives. As night fell, the stars twinkled above, and Eli looked up, feeling a sense of determination. He knew the road ahead would be dangerous, but he was ready. The time for action had come. Humanity would break free from the chains of oppression, and Eli would be at the forefront of this brave new fight. In the heart of New Haven, the seeds of rebellion had been planted. The darkness that had long shrouded humanity's spirit began to lift, replaced by the flickering flame of hope. The journey toward freedom had begun. Eli stood in front of the group of rebels, his heart racing. The glowing artifact in his hand seemed to hum with energy, filling the dimly lit room with a warm light. Around him, the other members of the Free Humans looked at him with a mix of hope and excitement. They were ready to change their fate. "Now that we have this artifact," Eli began, his voice steady, "we can train and prepare for what's to come. We need to learn how to use its power." He could see the fire in their eyes, and it made him feel stronger. They were no longer just oppressed workers, they were a team, ready to fight for their freedom. The group decided to meet every night in their hidden spot. They started by practicing basic combat skills. Mira, who had experience in hand-to-hand combat, took the lead. She taught Eli and the others how to throw punches, block attacks, and defend themselves. At first it was tough. Eli struggled to keep up, but with each session he grew stronger and more confident. One night, as the group trained, Eli felt the artifact pulse in his pocket. It was as if it wanted to be used. He decided to test its power. "Everyone, stand back!" he called out. The others looked at him with curiosity and a bit of fear. Eli closed his eyes and focused, channeling the energy from the artifact. Suddenly, a bright light filled the room, and Eli felt a rush of power. He opened his eyes and was amazed. Small sparks of energy danced around his hands, crackling like tiny fireworks. The other rebels gasped in surprise. Eli smiled, feeling the energy flow through him. "I can control it!" he shouted with joy. Mira stepped forward, eyes wide. "This is incredible, Eli. You can help us lead the fight against the Zorath." The group erupted in cheers, filled with excitement at the new possibilities. Eli felt a sense of responsibility wash over him. With this power, he could help his people find their strength. Over the next few weeks, Eli trained hard, pushing himself and the others to new heights. They learned to combine their skills with the energy from the artifact. Together, they practiced creating barriers of energy to protect themselves and even learned to throw small blasts of power at targets. The group grew stronger and more united, fueled by their shared dream of freedom. One evening, as the sun set, painting the sky with orange and purple hues, Eli gathered everyone together. "It's time to take action," he said, determination in his voice. "We can't just wait for the Zorath to attack us again. We need to show them we are not afraid." The rebels nodded, their eyes shining with excitement. They knew the risk, but they also understood the importance of their mission. With the artifact's power and their newly learned skills, they felt ready to face the aliens. The group planned a daring raid on a nearby Zorath supply depot. It was a risky move, but they believed it would send a strong message to the Empire. They wanted to show that humanity would not be silenced any longer. As the day of the raid approached, Eli felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was their chance to make a difference. On the night of the raid, they moved stealthily through the shadows, their hearts pounding. Eli led the way, his mind focused on the mission. They reached the supply depot, a large building guarded by Zorath soldiers. The group hid behind crates, watching as the aliens moved about, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. Eli turned to his friends, a fire burning in his eyes. "We'll create a distraction," he whispered. "Then we move in and grab what we can." "Remember our training!" With a nod, the group got into position. Eli felt the artifact's energy surge as he prepared to unleash its power. He took a deep breath and stepped into the open, his heart racing. "Hey, you metalheads!" he shouted, drawing the attention of the guards. The Zorath soldiers turned, confused. Eli could see the surprise in their eyes. In that moment, he released a burst of energy, sending a shockwave through the air. The guards stumbled back and chaos erupted. The other rebels rushed in, ready to fight. As they battled the Zorath, Eli felt alive. He had awakened something deep within himself and his people. They were no longer just slaves, they were warriors. And together, they would fight for their freedom. After the successful raid on the Zorath supply depot, Eli and the free humans felt a surge of hope. The news of their bravery spread like wildfire among the human colonies. People who had been silent for too long began to whisper about rebellion. Eli realized that they had ignited a spark of resistance that could not be put out. The following weeks were filled with preparation. Eli and his friends worked tirelessly, training new recruits and strategizing their next moves. More and more humans joined their cause, eager to fight back against their alien oppressors. They came from different backgrounds, each bringing unique skills to the group. Some were skilled fighters, while others were talented in technology or strategy. One night, as they gathered in their hidden meeting spot, Eli stood before the growing crowd. He could feel the energy in the room. "Tonight we take our fight to the next level," he declared, his voice steady. "We have trained hard, and now we must strike a blow against the Zorath Empire." The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices echoing in the small space. Eli felt a rush of pride. They were ready to fight, but they needed a plan. The free humans decided to target a key Zorath facility that supplied weapons and technology to their soldiers. If they could destroy it, they would weaken the aliens significantly. In the days leading up to the mission, Eli and the others gathered information about the facility. They learned about the layout, the number of guards, and the best times to attack. Eli used his skills as a mechanic to help devise a plan that involved creating distractions and using the energy from the artifact. On the night of the uprising, the air was thick with tension. Eli looked at the determined faces of his comrades and felt a wave of emotion. This was more than just a mission, it was a fight for their freedom. As the group prepared to leave, he gathered them in a circle. No matter what happens tonight, remember why we fight. We fight for our families, our friends, and our future, he said, his heart pounding. With a final cheer, the rebels set out under the cover of darkness. They moved quietly through the streets, their hearts racing with anticipation. As they approached the facility, Eli's mind raced. This was the moment they had been waiting for. Once they reached the building, Eli signaled for everyone to take their positions. Some of the rebels set up explosives, while others kept watch. The guards moved about, unaware of the danger that lurked just outside. Eli felt a surge of energy from the artifact, ready to channel it when the time was right. As the explosives were placed, Eli whispered, "On my mark." The group nodded, their eyes focused. He could see the guards getting restless, and it was time to act. "Now!" he shouted. With that command, the rebels set off the explosives, creating a loud explosion that shook the ground. The facility lit up with fire and smoke. Guards rushed towards the sound, panic spreading among them. Eli seized the moment, unleashing a burst of energy that knocked several guards off their feet. The free humans surged into the facility, adrenaline fueling their movements. They fought fiercely, working together as a team. Mira took down an alien guard with a swift kick, while Joran hacked into the facility's systems to disable alarms. Eli used his newfound powers to create barriers that protected his friends from incoming attacks. As they pushed deeper into the facility, they encountered more guards. The battle was intense, with lasers firing and explosions ringing out. Eli felt alive, energized by the fight and the cause. He remembered the faces of those who had suffered under the Zorath rule and felt a renewed sense of purpose. Finally, they reached the main control room. Eli could see the main weapon supply stored behind heavy doors. He knew that destroying this place would be a huge victory. The group worked quickly, planting more explosives around the supply crates while keeping an eye on the approaching guards. As the countdown began, Eli felt a wave of anxiety. Would they make it out in time? But just as he was about to lose hope, the timer reached 0, and the facility shook with a massive explosion. The shockwave threw everyone backward, but Eli quickly regained his footing. "Let's go!" he shouted, leading the way back through the chaos. They ran through the smoke and debris, adrenaline propelling them forward. Just as they reached the exit, Eli looked back at the burning facility, a feeling of triumph swelling in his chest. They had done it. They had struck a significant blow against the Zorath Empire. As they emerged into the night, the free humans cheered, their voices echoing in the darkness. Eli knew this was just the beginning. The uprising had begun, and humanity was ready to fight for its freedom. Together, they would stand against the oppressors and reclaim their future. The victory at the Zorath facility sent shockwaves throughout the human colonies. Eli and the free humans were hailed as heroes. The news of their bravery inspired many to join their cause. For the first time in years, hope flickered in the hearts of oppressed humans. They felt empowered, ready to fight for their freedom. But beneath the surface, not everything was as it seemed. One evening, as Eli was reviewing plans for their next mission, he noticed Mira's worried expression. She was sitting apart from the group, her eyes distant. Concerned, Eli approached her. "Mira, what's wrong?" he asked gently. Mira sighed, rubbing her temples. "I've been hearing rumors, Eli. Some people are scared. They think our attacks are putting everyone in danger. They want to retreat to stop fighting." Eli's heart sank. "We can't stop now. We've come so far, and we can't let fear win." But Mira shook her head. "I know, but there's something else. I heard whispers that there might be a traitor among us, someone feeding information to the Zorath." The words hit Eli like a punch to the gut. "A traitor?" The very thought shook him. "Who?" he demanded, his voice low. "Do you know who it is?" "I don't know for sure," Mira replied, her eyes filled with worry. "But we need to be careful. If someone is betraying us, we could lose everything." Determined to uncover the truth, Eli decided to keep a close eye on the members of the Free Humans. He spent the following days observing their interactions, trying to catch a hint of disloyalty. It was exhausting work, and Eli's mind raced with paranoia. Every whispered conversation seemed suspicious. Every sideways glance felt like a potential betrayal. During one of their meetings, Eli noticed Joran speaking quietly with a few new recruits. Joran was usually a reliable member of the group, but Eli couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. When the meeting ended, he approached Joran. "What were you talking about?" Eli asked, trying to keep his voice casual. Just sharing some strategies, Joran replied with a shrug. But Eli sensed an edge in his tone, a hint of defensiveness that raised more alarm bells. We need to be careful. The Zorath will be looking for us after our last attack, Eli said, keeping his gaze steady. Of course, Eli, Joran replied, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Eli felt uneasy, but chose to dismiss the feeling for the moment. They had more important things to focus on. Days passed, and the tension within the group grew. Eli tried to keep everyone motivated, but the worry of a traitor loomed over them like a dark cloud. During a strategy meeting, he could see that some members were restless, their trust shaken. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed outside, followed by shouts. Eli's heart raced as he rushed to the window. A group of Zorath soldiers had arrived, their armored bodies moving in organized formations. "We've been betrayed," he shouted, panic flooding the room. The free humans scrambled to grab their weapons, but it was too late. The Zorath had the element of surprise. As they fought, Eli felt overwhelmed. He caught a glimpse of Joran slipping out the back door, fear etched on his face. "Joran, wait!" Eli yelled, but it was too late. The fight was chaotic, with lasers firing in all directions. Eli fought bravely alongside his friends, but it was clear they were outmatched. They needed a plan to escape. "Fall back!" Eli shouted, trying to rally the group. They needed to regroup and find a way out. As they made their way to the exit, Eli caught a glimpse of Joran outside, talking to a Zorath officer. Rage filled Eli's chest. "You traitor!" he shouted, but Joran only smirked, a cruel smile spreading across his face. With a quick motion, the Zorath officer signaled, and a group of soldiers rushed forward to intercept Eli and his friends. "Run!" Eli yelled, pushing Mira and the others toward the exit. They dashed out into the night, but the Zorath were right behind them. Eli felt anger and betrayal swirl within him as they escaped into the darkness. Joran had chosen to side with their oppressors, and now their lives were in danger because of it. As they reached the safety of a nearby alley, Eli took a moment to catch his breath. "We can't give up," he panted, looking at the determined faces of his friends. "We'll find a way to fight back. We'll expose Joran and the traitors among us." The fire of rebellion still burned in their hearts. Together they would rise again, stronger than before. But this time they would do so with caution, knowing that danger lurked even within their own ranks. The night was quiet, but the tension in the air was palpable. After the chaos of the betrayal, Eli and the remaining members of the Free Humans regrouped in a safe house deep within the human colonies. It was a small, hidden place filled with shadows and whispers. Eli knew they had to plan their next move carefully. They could not allow Joran and the Zorath to crush their spirit. As Eli sat with Mira and a few others, he noticed the weight of fear hanging over them. The recent attack had shaken their confidence, and doubts began to creep in. "We can't let what happened with Joran defeat us," Eli said firmly, looking each of them in the eye. "We have faced worse before. We need to come together and fight for our freedom." Mira nodded, her determination returning. "But we need a solid plan. We can't rush into another fight without knowing what we're up against." Eli took a deep breath, feeling the spark of hope reignite within him. "What if we gather more information about the Zorath? They might be planning another attack, and we need to know their movements." The group agreed. Knowledge would be their weapon. Over the next few days, Eli and a small team worked to infiltrate Zorath territory. They moved carefully, gathering intelligence on the Zorath soldiers and their operations. The more they learned, the more they realized how vulnerable the Zorath were becoming. Their forces were stretched thin, struggling to maintain control over the human colonies. One evening, as they huddled in a hidden spot, Eli shared the information they had gathered. "The Zorath are planning a major operation to quell any remaining resistance," he said, his voice low. "If we strike now, we can disrupt their plans and show everyone that we are not defeated." The group erupted in excitement. "This is our chance!" one of the new recruits exclaimed. Eli felt a rush of energy. They were ready to fight back, to reclaim their freedom once and for all. With the plan in place, Eli and the Free Humans prepared for the upcoming battle. They trained hard, determined to make every moment count. They would launch a surprise attack on the main Zorath command center, aiming to take out key leaders and disrupt their communication lines. The night of the operation arrived, and a palpable tension filled the air. Eli felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. This was it. This was their chance for freedom. As they moved through the shadows, Eli could hear the sounds of distant Zorath soldiers. The adrenaline coursed through his veins as they approached their target. Once they reached the command center, they sprang into action. Eli led the charge, his heart pounding in his chest. They fought fiercely, pushing through waves of Zorath soldiers. Mira and Joran's team worked seamlessly, coordinating attacks and covering each other's backs. As they battled their way through the facility, Eli felt a surge of power. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for their future. The sound of explosions and the flashes of laser fire filled the air. Each victory felt like a step closer to freedom. Finally, they reached the main control room. Inside, they found Zorath officers huddled around communication devices, panic etched on their faces. Eli shouted, "This ends now!" as he burst through the door. The free humans stormed in, taking the Zorath by surprise. The battle was fierce, but Eli felt unstoppable. They fought with everything they had, fueled by the desire for freedom. One by one, the Zorath officers fell, and the control room began to collapse under the pressure of the fight. Just as they secured the room, a loud explosion rocked the facility. "We need to get out!" Mira shouted, her eyes wide with fear. Eli nodded, knowing they had to escape quickly. They raced back through the corridors, dodging falling debris and enemy fire. As they burst outside, they were met with the sight of their comrades, fighting valiantly against the Zorath forces. The sight filled Eli with renewed strength. They were winning. They were reclaiming their freedom. With a final surge of determination, Eli and his team joined the battle. Together, they pushed back against the Zorath, forcing them to retreat. The sound of victory echoed through the air as the last of the Zorath soldiers fled. Exhausted but exhilarated, Eli looked at his friends, their faces lit with triumph. They had done it. They had fought back against their oppressors and won. In that moment, Eli realized that they were not just survivors, they were warriors, united in their quest for freedom. As dawn broke over the horizon, the humans stood together, victorious. They had faced betrayal, fear, and doubt, but they had emerged stronger. The fight for their freedom was far from over, but they had taken the first step. Together they would build a future free from the chains of oppression. Eli looked at the sky, a sense of hope swelling within him. This was just the beginning of their journey. They would continue to fight, not just for themselves, but for every human who had ever suffered under the Zorath rule. The flames of rebellion had been ignited and nothing could extinguish them now.